Hi, it's Ursula from ursula-smith.com, and I figured I would just do a quick little video. I'm experimenting with the Distress Opaque Crackle paste using a stencil that I cut out of Yupo paper 2 times actually, glued them together, and I'm actually using the stencil backwards because I want to use it to emboss, but when you emboss it'll be on the other side. So I've done this a bunch of times, so this is just a quick video to see how the opaque crackle works. I'm hoping this will crackle and then add a little bit of texture to my embossing with this plate. So when everything is dry, I will be back. So I'm back, and my embossing plate that I made using the Crackle paste, can't remember if it was the translucent or the opaque, I let cure overnight and ran it through the Sizzix Big Shot, and you can see a little bit of that crackle in there. So it's got just a little bit of a texture, and it definitely embossed really nicely. So if you've got the Crackle pastes from Distress and want to try this technique, I feel like definitely go for it. It seems to work. And I'll pull out a ink pad and show you. I will try and run an ink pad across, but I wanted to show you one more thing that I tried. So this is my normal embossing plate that I use, that I just use regular heavy gel medium by Golden. And that's what I've always used. I will show you. So I ended up spraying the paper on the back for this test. I just spaced, and I was trying to unwrinkle it, and had sprayed the back of it. So sometimes the paper will stick to the molding paste. So I just use one of these. If you have one of these erasers, it's really for like glue and stuff like that. But a lot of times you can kind of get in there and remove the paper if it really kind of bothers you. I had big swaths of it, and it just kind of pulls it off. So anyway, you can use that to clean it up if, like I said, if it bothers you. But anyway, I used this plate, and I had a piece of paper that I had gone ahead and just covered with the Distress collage medium, the Crazing version. I like this because it's much smaller, finer crackle, and it's a little more almost like a glue, not a paste, which sometimes can kind of crumble away. So I just covered the whole paper with it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that would emboss. And ooh, yeah, it does. And you get kind of a really cool look to it. So I'm going to go off camera, grab an ink pad, and I will be back. So, and again, this is up to you how you want to emboss. Oh, also, I wanted to point out, if you haven't been following the whole thing, this one I embossed, the quote right way. This one I flipped and did it the other direction, so that when I emboss, the design ends up on the left side of the paper. So sometimes I like that better. So anyway, you could do your embossing plate either direction. Just flip your stencil. So, and then you have an option here. You could use a brush. You could use a blending tool. A lot of times, especially if I'm going to do the Distress Resist technique, I'll just bring the ink pad directly over the top. And that's why I like a deeper, more distinct emboss, because I get less of those straggly bits. And And usually if that happens, I just kind of go in and try and camouflage it a little bit. So that is the one with the crackle on the stencil itself, or the embossing folder itself. And I mean, I'm not sure you can see very much of that crackle. So, I mean, it still works. And maybe if I had gone in with the blending tool, that might have shown it up a little bit better. Hard to say, but it's a very light texture, if you see it at all. So I mean, if that's all you have, go for it, because it works, right? And then this is the one where I use the Crazing medium on the paper itself. Again, you could try this if you have the Crackle, you know, and want to try that yourself. Again, I tend to like the Crazing a little bit better just because I feel like it's softer and it sticks to the paper better. And so we'll see, will we see more of the Crackle this way? There we go. So definitely you can see more of the crackle, obviously, on this one. So if you really kind of want that crackly look, this may be the way that you go. Just make your normal embossing plate. But again, use whatever you've got on hand. If you have the texture or the crackle paste, rather than the Crazing, go ahead and try that. You can use it, obviously, as your embossing plate if that's the only thing you have. But just kind of a different look than using the plain old, at least in this case, the plain old embossing plate. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. So I'm back, and this was the design that I embossed using the plate that had Crackle media pushed through the stencil. And I mean, it did the oxide resist, so this is Distress Oxide on top on the embossed image, and then spray stained over the top of it so the Distress Oxide resists, but you can't really see the crackle. So not sure if I could line this back up, might be able to kind of go in and pick up some of the crackle if I brought an ink pad back over. But, you know, just wanted to point out that the crackles aren't super obvious when you emboss. So it's almost like you were just using regular molding paste, which is typically what I normally use. And then this one was the heavy gel molding paste that I normally used, embossed onto a piece of paper that was spread with the collage medium Crazing. And then I did the same technique, Distress Oxide over the embossed and then spray stained in the back. And there's a lot going on there. So I did come back over. The first time I just sprayed with a couple of greens, and then it was still really, really speckly. So I came back over the top with some Mermaid Lagoon, and then I sprayed some water to try to spread some of the ink out and not be so blotchy. So that looks a little bit better. Again, a lot going on there. So I like the idea, I like the technique, but maybe not with such a detailed embossing over the top. So, you know, if I was doing like a flower or just kind of a butterfly without a lot of detail to it, that's probably a better use for this technique. But in any event, I'll end up using both of these for something. So Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.